I was trying to find my mouse. It was on a different screen. What up? What up? You
Yep.
see this Wolf, obviously, on that news that they got this morning, WOLF.
What about him?
They got some government loan or government subsidy to build some semiconductors.
Yeah, I saw that.
OKLO faded a tiny bit, but this still looks fire. It's Piton, bro. MRVL. Man, this is a nice little chart there. What else we got?
I feel like I'm getting sick again, dude. Already.
Oh,
Jesus.
Herps is going around, my dude. The square's looking nice in pre-market. Yeah, I prefer honestly, if this has a nice update today, 73 bucks, and then I do really want to see this kind of work sideways more. Roku could be interesting. Let's see here. I'm sending an alert on Nike. We'll get going in a minute here. I ended up making an evening update video, but I didn't send it out because I spent like half the time talking about the indexes. I'm like, what am I doing? Yeah, I don't care what
Come
the
on,
index.
guy.
I was like, this is. Then I got into the stocks and it was like a 21-minute video and 11 minutes I spent talking about how the indexes are looking. I'm like, no, and I don't want to remake this. Um, all right, hey, let's get into it, guys. How we doing? Good morning. Welcome, welcome. Come on in. Come on in. No, I hate them. GME is popping. What's going on there? GameStop collab with PSA, Public Storage. Cool. Well, there you go. Release the apes. Let them out. Um, well, on that note, let's take a look at the market. Um, Flat open so far. Looking solid. Now, one thing I do want to note, started talking about this wee little bit yesterday, is the S&P is outside the upper Bollinger Band. Yesterday, the daily candle was almost completely outside the upper Bollinger Band. And again, all that means is this is a 2 standard deviation extension from the 20 period moving average. So this is, 2 standard deviations from the average 20 days of price. This has contracted significantly since a sideways action and is just beginning to expand. So, I'm not giving it massive weighting on it. But I'm just kind of, in the back of my head a little bit. We're up 4.5 days in a row from this gap up. Extremely strong, broad participation within this, 5 days of move. And even during this consolidation, right, there's been a lot of participation. Anywho, if we do end up working our way sideways, there's a few open bullish gaps. Even just yesterday, we've got, essentially 480.7 to 481, which was the open and the low yesterday. And then especially this one down here is really notable. But could the market go sideways after a 4-day push? Absolutely. Just something to be mindful of. And if the market is going to digest a little bit, what you will do with your positions. QQQ still looks fantastic. We filled this bullish gap from July back here, and we even closed above that. Pretty much the only level left area up above is the all-time highs. Again, this is this bullish open gap from what was it, Monday to last Tuesday is an extremely important spot. And the levels I have are as such on this chart right here. If anybody, in the chat or on Twitter wants me to post this, just go ahead and ask one like and I'll do it. But yeah, as long as we're holding, especially down below 493.70, give or take, like this range right here between the open and the high from 926, I'm good. I'm excited about the market and in fact maintaining aggression. IWM sick thrust off the 50-day moving average, 2-day continuation up into this 223 area. Let me just kind of clear this off. An inside day would do this a lot of justice or a lot of, good. We're kind of breaking out of this channel that we were in for what seemed like an eternity. Working our way up. So can this continue 3, 4, 5 days up? Absolutely. Now what we'd like to see for, a more longer term sustained move is to look for this to make a higher low. So we've made this move and now we have pretty much all of this range to make a daily higher low at whenever it decides to enter, a little bit of consolidation. Weekly also, right? Higher low, higher low. Now we're essentially searching for that first higher high because we've been kind of sideways broadly, but continuously making higher lows, but not making higher highs on the weekly.
This UNH taking the Dow down right now.
Yeah, UNH on their earnings down about 8. Oh wow, this has moved a lot more. Holy cow. Hey, this is retesting this massive weekly breakout spot at 550 to 555 right now. Very likely a pretty decent spot to hold. Maybe it dances underneath for a while. I mean, I'm not knife catching this on earnings. I haven't looked at their numbers, but in general, this is like a really sick multi-year breakout on the weekly chart that we're just retesting. Goldman Sachs had earnings. Any little guys that had earnings? I know Wolf had a PR up decently in the pre-market. Blah 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 blah.
Not really.
OKLO had another PR. TLT, some of the rates are down a little bit. The 10-year's down a little bit. This is up 0.7%. If let me just clear this up. Yeah, we probably should sell some puts on UNH right at the open. I've got this trend line from the lows. This was kind of the initial thesis on this. This is, don't really need to talk about this, but still fairly interested in the idea of this chart. But Rocco, what are you thinking today?
Yeah, so I got a few names on the list I'm going to be keeping an eye on. I don't know if we're at a spot on the indexes where, Kunal made a good point this morning, though. As long as the indexes go sideways, there's still going to be some names, catching heat and speculation in this kind of market right now. So I think it's still worth watching, a couple good hot setups. Dude, if this Apple gives a setup today, I think this could be a swing trade. This is a really sick base for anybody who's into, trade something like this. A little bit of a slower mover, but it's pretty clean. Probably one of the best weekly VCP bases like I've ever seen on this thing. Taking out some range today through this like 233 level, call it. If you get like a back test of that spot and it holds, like this could be a pretty sweet swing trade back to like all-time highs, I think. I might even watch this, maybe swing some of the calls. Oh yeah, this apple looks pretty sweet. APLD I got on watch in this little bull flag here. I want to see if this takes out yesterday's highs. I think this could trigger a move. It's into a little bit of a tricky spot on the weekly. There's like some resistance at like, 859 bucks. But if this does get through this like, this little weekly flag here and somehow take out like $9, $10, it's got a lot of room above to get going. So trying to take out a little bit of a base here. This thing had big volume back here when we played it back in early September off that news. But this has got a really nice flag to the 20. Definitely a couple shakeout candles in here, but held up pretty well. I think this looks interesting. I think this is one to keep an eye on that I'll be watching. I think Unity as well. This one's pretty strong in the pre-market. It was pretty much holding green all morning with the indexes down. 22 is kind of the trigger on this. It's gapping up through that. You get like a hold of 22 at the open or an opening range breakout. I think this is in play for a potential swing trade. You got the declining, 200 day down here, but a lot of these names have been working really well. You got some nice volume off at the lows down here. This is one I'll be keeping an eye on. I got some of the crypto miners. I'm watching some of these just because. So, BitX is going green in the pre-market. This IBIT. I'm watching some of these 65 and 15-minute charts on these miners. Like this CIFR is just retesting this 425 area and potentially building out like a day-long consolidation type pattern. So this could be in play. I think I'm watching like this. Your Hut, Mara, Riot type things. If these build out like some 65-minute patterns above their bases. I think these could be in play if Bitcoin keeps up with that momentum. So I'll be watching those. I'm watching this Clove too, build out this little high tight flag up here. If I got 420 as kind of a trigger I'm watching on this. I would love another little higher low and for the moving averages to get a little tighter on this. But this is in a huge, huge fast zone on the weekly right now. I've been talking about these with things like, UPST and Rocket Lab. You can see if I move this out of the way you got a big fast zone above 380 on this. It's just kind of sitting above it right now, pretty much up to like around 750 on this. And it's got double inside weeks right now. Been a monster momentum leader. Didn't even go down when the market corrected back here. So I think this is worth keeping an eye on. Sort of like that Rocket Lab setup, just like that high type flag type thing. I even think this is worth watching, but I already have a position in this. So, and then think this TIGR could be a good oversold bounce play. Maybe not today. I'm watching this like $6 to 623 area. $6 is the top of this, 3-year base. 623 is the gap fill from that first gap when this thing really caught some heat. Closer to 623, $6, the better on this. Not sure I'm super interested today. This could put in a little sweeper candle in this gap here. But, if this thing gets really oversold the next day or two. I mean, this thing can bounce 20, 30, 40% in a day with how much, range this thing has. So I think that can be on watch, but mostly going to watch these crypto miners, probably going to watch OKLO at the open. I don't have a position. I know you guys got in yesterday, but this is probably a big watch at the open. And then I got some little like beat down kind of names. I got some alerts on that are kind of crossing back a little bit. They're below the 50 days, but like SMCI and Celsius could trigger something. Not the best names that I want to be watching right now, probably, but you've seen stuff like, this wolf do this out of this bottoming pattern, make a 50% move in 3 days. So could be worth watching. A lot of the names on my focus list actually just went red to green. So AMSC2 through 2450. I got an alert set there on this. So there's actually, tons of names that have some decent setups that I'll kind of be watching today. Don't know, that I want to put on a ton of exposure right now. I got some decent exposure already, but I got, a room for a few more names. And then, yeah, I think that's pretty much all I'm going to be watching today. I think this IBIT, this Bitcoin would be really sweet if this went sideways for a couple of days below this $38 spot and built out like a nice little high type flag pattern, let the moving averages catch up. But if this Bitcoin just keeps going, which it could, it really could. I think these 65-minute charts on some of these like miners and Bitcoin names could potentially be something. So I'm going to keep an eye on those pretty close. I also, this is kind of a mediocre idea I'm going to keep an eye on, but this Starbucks, I was looking at this morning. So this trade, its highest volume of all time on August 13th when this gapped up about 20% this day. It's gone sideways ever since, and I'm watching this into this like 94 spot. It's consolidating right now at the high volume candle anchored VWAP pretty much. The anchored VWAP from that gap up spot. It held that back here at the end of September, and it's sitting at that right now. This 50-day moving average is sloping up pretty quick and catching up. If you get like a little double bottom look off this 94 area, I think this is a wedge pop candidate. And if you do pop back through these moving averages, you probably get a move back to the top of this base pretty quick. And this weekly's got a couple really, really tight weeks into the weekly 9 EMA. Some $100 calls for January, December. This triggers through like yesterday's highs. I think could be a good swing trade. But unless it really shows that it wants to go, I have no interest in trying to just, buy this. So that's what I got.
Beautiful. That's some hot shit, dude. Pull up my screen here. Okay. So, with that, Brecker, actually off that Starbucks idea, I also like this. I've been stocking this just, for a couple of weeks now, pretty much since that big day. I have the same thesis, this inside day high, 95.53, pretty much. And even if this wants to drift down and have some weakness today, tap the 50-day moving average, kind of undercut, come into some of that support right there, and then show some buyer activity. Again, I don't hate the low risk idea if we, get some lower wicks down there. On that note, so this Nike sucks, right? But if it wants, I'm just like envisioning a couple big green candles here back through the MAs, and through this trend line from this earnings gap down. It's gonna need a trigger. This is not something that I'm not gonna actively watch. I've just got an alert set at $82 to see if this pushes through the previous day's high. We are putting a few lower wicks at the 50-day here to where it might pop through. I am watching that. Restoration Hardware had a high tight inside day on this. This is really tight channel following their big earnings move. Gonna be watching how this behaves today. I would love a little dip on this into 325 or below 325, or just go and break that inside day high. I think 340, 350, or 360 calls for November, December, January would be reasonable. I do want to talk about this Apple because this is one that in pre-market yesterday and throughout the first 30 minutes of market open, I thought this was looking fantastic. We had this weak close on Friday, and then we gapped up and then immediately pushed at open about 1.5% in the first 30 minutes. Came back in, retested this double inside day high of 229.50, 229.40, and then held and then pushed up. So we're already up $5 from that spot. To me, that's the first trigger on this. But right now, it's like actually triggering the longer term breakout on this today. So this is the day one, which I thought was like the best entry on this, to where you get this as it triggers through the double inside day with a low of day stop. You could get this retest on the 30-minute here around, let's just call it 230. Let's say you got a decently late entry, 230 with a 228.60 stop. So you're risking $1.40 on that from this spot, and $1.40 per share, and you're already up $4.20 on this. So you're already up almost 3-to-1 risk to reward at that juncture. That's how getting a good set, a good sick entry like that. That's how you can risk like very, very little. You can size into something. I mean, you could buy 300 shares and only be risking $420 on your account, which is pretty awesome. Where you could be buying a decent bit of options.
One thing I will say about Apple, a characteristic of this stock is that when this thing breaks out of a base, it can pretty much go 6 to 8 weeks just surfing the moving averages.
Yes.
Nothing trades or trends like Apple when it breaks out. This thing just goes and goes and goes.
Yeah, that is indeed true. Microsoft, this is like a little bit of a wick play where you open up within that big upper wick and you trade within that. I think this is in the process of popping through the MAs here, a little bit wedging up. So probably gonna avoid this for now, but Google was really actively talking about this Friday. It posted in my channel a number of times, and even on Twitter about this go signal on a 65 minute. This is not this is as good of a signal as you're going to get on a hourly chart down here on Friday, and then this puts in a higher low, breaks out, and is just trending up. So far from this area, you're up. I mean 2.5%, but whatever. But I was looking at the way that some of the call options moved for even like couple like 2 weeks out or even 2 months out. You're looking at 100% plus move on this. Other thing I want to go over, market opens in 8 minutes, is this AMD. So talked about this on the options flow with Alex Space with Alex Jones yesterday. So this is extremely tight in this little pattern. It's got double inside days following that event that they had. And what I want to see again, this is kind of a decent if right now, is this come down into undercut these double inside days, which we're already doing. They had some, PRs last night about not being able to sell to other countries or something, which is, perfect for the setup that I want to see on this, which is you break this double inside day to the downside, kind of come into 162, even slightly lower than that. And then you start to reclaim some of those levels. You start to see buyers step in. You're going to need to see those buyers step in. You can't just buy the immediate weakness on this. If that occurs, if we sweep these double inside day lows, come into the 200-day and 20 MA down here, and this event day support at 162 or even slightly below, which your next level down here is pretty clear, strong support at 160, right? Then I think this is going to provide a really, really nice opportunity to get into AMD and to trade it up into 170, 175, and even come up into the mid 180s up here from this peak. So I really like the potential on this trade. It just needs to set up the way that that I want to see. Toast. Let me go into Intel next. High tide inside day yesterday. Flat open on this today. We'll see kind of what happens, but I still like the way this is developing. Ended up entering on what was it, Monday 10-7. Ended up getting stopped out on this. I know a number of you guys are still in that position for those January 25 calls. Very reasonably priced, pretty high quality setup here. And I think this might be triggering a secondary look. TOST. This still looks fantastic. The more and more this tightens up right here, but this looks like essentially is the way that like this service now looked right back here when we broke through this spot, and we're kind of just building out over those new highs. If you pull up TOST, right, it looks very, very similar. Any weakness on this underneath Friday and Monday's low, I think you really start looking for buyers on the tape to come in and try to initiate position. You've got 2770 and 2690, we'll call it. Has some really good support areas on this. And zooming out, the reason that I'm interested in is that base. Unity, you went over, watch 22 break and retest, 2220 as well. And then Zillow, don't think it's quite ready yet. Well, first off, I wish I was in this, but I want to see weakness down into 6190 to about 6230 on this. This little zone I've got highlighted is really what I'm looking for to get in. CIFR, what's up, news, Brocco? What do you got? Oh, hey. Data center, Bitcoin mining, lease, 50 acre, 580 acres. Okay. I have a number of other, backdoor or, whatever ideas on Some interesting stocks. But you know, those ones that I mentioned are you know, super liquid. We'll have some decent eyes on it. Will be, you know, optionable for some folks. I think there's some good opportunities on the things that we mentioned. Don't need to go over positions. Entered Square yesterday at $70 flat. Added some more on the weakness to give myself like what is it, 69.80 average or something, 69.83. Holding that position, happy with it so far. Yeah, we'll see what happens. I've got to stop at low of day from yesterday, just below 69, about 68.70. And yeah, hood still looks hot. Been trimming into strength on this. Any questions, comments, concerns? Okay, hello. Let's go do we do, people.
Hey, this AMD, this puts in a oops reversal today. I think we could buy this.
Yeah, 100%. I really want this to set up the way I want.
I pretty much just put an alert at yesterday's low. If we reclaim that, I'll play it.
I want this to break 162 and then reclaim 162 in the 200 and the 20-day moving average. You can trade this via AMDL around this you know, 1470 to 15 spot. Or you can trade AMD 170 or 175 calls for November or December. I would probably go with November on this. Those will be about $7.
I got tons of alerts set this morning. I'm excited to see which ones go off first. That'll tell me.
It is Alex Jones. I'm gonna be watching this pretty closely. Now, do I go AMDL or do I go AMD options? Is the
2%
question.
gapper on this DPST.
Oh yeah, your banks look fucking hot, dude.
All right, 10 seconds. Let's do it.